So anyway, speaking of bad games that were not so well received is Marathon. So I personally, yeah, I haven't been in tune with Bungie ever since what do you call this? Ever since Destiny. I'm not really a Destiny guy because like I'm not into multiplayer as much. So I was more of like a Halo guy. So I was hoping like their next game would at least have a campaign like Halo and then have multiplayer features too. But again, this is like Bungie riding the trend and they're not who they used to be. I think the original team that made Bungie great, I think they're long gone. I think they're elsewhere. And yeah, so I'm gonna watch this. I didn't really pay attention to this trailer much, but I know people didn't like it as much. So yeah, okay. I'll give my thoughts on this. Pretty loud. Yeah, I don't like the art style and color of this. I think I don't like the green color that's really bright. Well, it looks okay so far. Yeah, it's like it's a tough battle. There's so many of these extraction shooters now.
Marathon is a team-based extraction shooter set around the mysterious and cutthroat world
way too many of these
Tau
games.
Ceti 4. You are a runner, a cybernetic mercenary who's given up their human form for a biosynthetic shell with unique abilities and stats, capable of both tactical and fast-paced combat.
Yeah, like if you want people to get into
here, you'll fight in a
stop this. Like if you want to get people to in my this what I feel. It's like if you want to get people to get invested in this art style, which for me, it looks pretty bizarre. It's like when you look at this in face value, it's like, okay. It's like at best, that's what I feel. Okay, I'll give it. Maybe it'll do great. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe a lot of people like this. But if I were like Bungie, I would. I know there's a story trailer for this, but okay, I'm showing us the gameplay. What I would do is like focus more on the campaign, like get people to get invested with the characters with good writing, and then maybe people will be more accepting with the art style. But right now, as a multiplayer extraction shooter, which is super saturated, like it's it's gonna people are gonna think, yeah, this is like it's gonna be Concord, which we're gonna talk about later. It's gonna be another Concord.
Crew of up to 3 players across a variety of zones and points of interest. You'll face rival runners in zones of up to 18 players.
Yeah, so many lime green
security forces and otherworldly threats to scavenge the remains of a lost colony for glory and fortune.
Yeah, too much green.
The environments of Tau Ceti 4
everywhere
are filled with weapons, materials, and equipment you can scavenge throughout the map.
Yeah,
Before deploying, you'll strategically build your loadout and select a runner.
It looks battle bit-esque, a bit like battle bit. And I do like the art style of that one, battle bit. Although I don't have the game, but I kind of like the art style because like I'm not a multiplayer guy, but I do like the visuals of battle bit. I think they were trying to go for that at the same time being like realistic 3D. Like they merged it into one, and this is what they came up with. But yeah, I like a good story and a good cast of characters would have done wonders to uplift this game. At least the initial impression right now.
To ensure you're equipped for the run ahead. Your objective is simple. Get in, gather as much loot as you can, and make it out alive. Die, and all your gear will be up for grabs.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's another thing that's why I'm not into these games. Like I know that like you lose your progress if you die. So it's like it kind of feels like you wasted all your effort. Like at least when you play games like Call of Duty, it's like I think you still get something. Or at least you don't really have that expectation that you get to keep your stuff. I could be wrong. I haven't played Call of Duty for the longest time, but at least in Call of Duty, you don't have that huge expectation that you're gonna keep your stuff. But I think for these types of games, you kind of do. But you kind of forfeit that when you die. which I think kind of kills the replay factor, or you kind of lose motivation if you die. That's what I think. I could be wrong.
Survive, and your loot can be taken into future runs as you grow in power and fill your vault.
Yeah, so like imagine like consecutively you got so much things like for I don't know 10 matches in a row you kept winning, and then when you die you lose all of it. Like I don't know. That sounds like that kind of kills the motivation for me.
Death is inevitable, but it's never the end. Think quickly on your feet and outplay your opponents, and in your next run, you and your teammates will be the ones coming out on top. And even if you're down on your luck, factions can sponsor you with a fresh loadout, so you can get right back into the fight. Bungie brings its best-in-class first-person multiplayer action to the forefront. Dynamic and tactile gunplay, runners with unique playstyles, and customizable builds create highly dynamic and strategic team fights.
Like, how is this gonna stand up with the competition?
Or high rolling with powerful gear, you'll need to use your best judgment when you decide which fights to pick and how. Because no matter how geared you are,
because like it's okay for single player games to have. It's okay to have like 10 of them falling under the same genre, kind of like the Souls games. Because the thing is, people have this expectation in single player games that there's it's finite. There's a beginning and an end. Or like, okay, I'm done with this Souls game. Now I'm gonna move to the next. Which is why it's okay. It's okay for single player games to have. It's okay to have multiple games in the same genre. Because like once I'm done one, I'll go for the next. So everybody still gets a share. Unlike here, where you're expected to play it perpetually, or at least stick to it for a very long time, it's gonna be tough for this game to be able to pull it off. Because like, how are you gonna convince the Tarkov players, the Valorant players, all these players from the different genres to move the game they're invested in to this new one? It's an uphill battle, in my opinion.
With skill and strategy will always have the edge. Marathon is designed to be played in crews, with contextual pings, shared objectives, and down but not out.
Yeah, it's too much green. There's just too many greens. Too many lime green. Otherwise, it's not so bad.
And if you're the last one standing, you can overcome the odds to revive your teammates.
Green everywhere.
And get out with your hard-earned loot. And if you believe your skills alone are enough to conquer any challenge, we give you the freedom to opt out of crew fill, to take all the glory for yourself as a solo runner. No two runs in Marathon ever play out the same. With dynamic events, variable weather, and unpredictable players, you'll have to adapt on the fly if you want to survive.
Other games already do that. I could be wrong, but I feel like other games already do that.
And anything can happen while you're chasing your objective. Looking to unlock upgrades or increase your faction reputation? Slip into the shadows as Void and ghost past your enemies. Search the map for rare materials and profit opportunities without being discovered. Want to push enemy teams and steal their loot?
Infiltrate their storeroom, but like if you die, you lose all that. I don't know. That doesn't sound very good to me.
Glitch with agility implant and your strongest weapons to disrupt rival crews. Running support for your friends, grab extra equipment, shield charges, and a specialized backpack to be the lifeline they need. You're always free to experiment with team compositions, and the only limit to how you want to play your runner is your loot and imagination.
Yeah, other games do that already. That's not unique to this game.
Discovering secrets, seasonal storytelling, community events, and more all await you in season.
Concord initially planned for a seasonal storytelling. Look what happened to that.
One, where you and your friends will start to unravel the mysteries of Tau Ceti 4. Remember, you're only ever one run away.
Too much
from
green.
The next big score.
Way too many green. Well, yeah, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe this game will do really great, but yeah, I'm not seeing it. It's facing an uphill battle. And speaking of, no, stop that. I mentioned Concord, and apparently a former dev left a comment on it. So, okay, Marathon has something Concord didn't. It's like, I don't know if you're gonna compare yourself to Concord, I don't think that's a good look, and I don't think that's a a high bar considering Concord's the total life cycle of that, not counting the beta, it's like 2 weeks. So you really shouldn't be comparing yourself to a game that only lasted for 2 weeks with a budget of 400 million, if I may add. So, according to the gamer, Marathon already has something Concord didn't. So, Concord was such an interesting failure. It wasn't completely broken at launch, and the few fans it attracted were initially sold on its Overwatch-esque hero shooter mechanics. But that brief interest couldn't stop it from being dead on arrival. Yeah, absolutely. It was a disastrous failure that shut down merely days after launch. Yes. Yeah, I know it's 2 weeks. And caused Sony to close the studio that made it. So you would think, right? You would think Sony of all people should learn from this. And what do you call this? And yeah, Bungie is owned by Sony, and like they're doing this again alongside fair games. Like Sony's not learning from their mistakes. At least that's how I feel. It's like you gotta cut your losses, Sony. It's like this is not looking good. So I probably know what this one's gonna say in terms of like what do you call this, contradictions, like, oh, but this one's made by an established developer unlike Concord. But still, man, it's like Bungie's not what they used to be. Oh, yeah, there we go. So Sony's first party premium multiplayer offering. Yeah, so was the 400 million Concord not enough? I assume the company doesn't die quick, painful death, or the subject of widespread morbid fascination, despite not being very similar to Concord. But it is, though. I'm kind of getting the vibe that it is. Although you can argue it's not the same genre, but with the lime green all over it, does feel like it. Many have already written Marathon off and are expecting it to fail in the exact same way. Yeah. Well, okay. For me, maybe not exactly, because like it's Bungie. It's still Bungie. But despite the fall off, the name Bungie still holds some weight compared to Firewalk Studios, which literally nobody knows. Nobody knew at a time when Concord launched. While I understand the hesitation that many are feeling about Sony launching another paid multiplayer game to compete against the sea of established free-to-play titles, Marathon has a leg up on Concord that gives it much better chance at life. Why? Marathon, yeah, okay, yeah, I figured Marathon is being made by Bungie. So, yeah, but the thing is, this is not like Treyarch or what's the name of the other dev? The other Call of Duty dev. So it doesn't hold the same weight as it used to. Where did Concord go wrong? Not to speak ill of the dead, but yeah, exactly. They were unknown. And yet they somehow got that kind of budget, which is absurd in my opinion. Like, if it doesn't need, despite, like, even if you say like it had some talented people, unless if it's someone like Hideo Kojima or someone really, really well known, I wouldn't put 400 million on this team. It wasn't an established developer. Firewalk boasted that it was composed of former Bungie and Activision developers, which certainly gave it some pedigree. But other than the fact that Sony was interested in the studio enough to purchase it, yeah, there's a reason why Herman Holst is not the CEO anymore. I think he really made a bad call, alongside Jim Ryan, which I'm glad he's not there anymore, because he wasn't really making good choices, in my opinion. There wasn't much momentum keeping Firewalk in the public eye. If Concord had been a success, it would have likely put Firewalk on the map, but it didn't. It failed. But in the lead up to launch, players and press alike were skeptical about nearly everything it had to offer. There wasn't much setting it apart from the rest of the multiplayer landscape, which Marathon also doesn't. It doesn't. I didn't see any features in that trailer that provided any, what do you call this? Any differentiation apart from the art style, which for me, it's too many green. Yeah, if you look at this, it's like also lime green. They really like the lime green color, which I don't. I personally don't. Now that we've got a proper look at Marathon, people are saying that it suffers from a lot of the same problems as Concord. Yeah, that's what I feel too. Even though I'm not into the genre, but someone from the outside looking in, that's what I feel too. That the shooting looks uninspired, the PvP VE extraction systems seem very close to, Tarkov. And other long time established titles, which you like, how can you convince someone from Tarkov to like play this game? And it's also following the business model of Concord. Like, it's not free to play. You have to pay. Likely also $40, which is that itself is a huge, huge deterrent for a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to buy the games outright these days. A lot of people just want to play the game for free and buy a skin and a few skins here and there. That's it. They don't want to pay 50, 60. That's like a much smaller segment of the entirety of the gaming sphere. Okay. One thing I haven't seen much discussion about, however, is that Marathon isn't being developed by. Yeah, you said that already. Okay. Successful studios of all time before, not anymore, not recently. Like, yeah, in the early 2000s, Halo. This was their peak, in my opinion. Halo and probably Destiny 1. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, but not anymore. At least that's what I feel. Not anymore. Which established Xbox as a brand. Yeah, that's true. That was way back then. Not any. This is not the Bungie we used to know. So after it was done with Halo, Bungie split from Microsoft. Yeah, when Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 with Activision. So I know there was a lot of talk about this one, Destiny and Activision, where they actually got more greedy. Where but when Bungie veered off from they thought because they're Bungie's away from Bobby Kotick, so they're gonna be less greedy now. But I know there was some discussion about the DLC where they actually became more greedy. So yeah, it became worse actually when they went outside of Activision. And I don't know, time will tell if they're better under Sony, but by the looks of it, I am not hopeful. I could be wrong. It could be the really, really good game, but the way I see it, the way I saw the trailer, it's not looking so good. So the studio has consistently delivered high quality experience and industry defining shooters. So it's natural to assume that Marathon is in very safe hands. I wouldn't be so sure that we should have more faith in it. Okay, maybe, yeah. Okay, you can make the argument you should have more faith, but by how much? For me, not a lot. Like if Concord was here, I would think Bungie is here. It's not gonna be over there. It's gonna be over here. Not by much. It's not gonna completely redefine the multiplayer landscape. We already know the gameplay features. I didn't see anything that stands out. PlayStation. no, it's not gonna be. I actually think Sony should revive Killzone and Resistance. That has a better shot of being the next Halo, not this game. But I do know that I trust the studio that's working on it. I've enjoyed Bungie's work over the years, and it's not given me a single reason to think that, out of nowhere, it's going to turn heel and make something completely bland and forgettable. You're forgetting about BioWare. Whoever wrote this. Who the heck wrote this? Peter Zippy Tech. I don't know how to read this last name. Yeah, Peter. BioWare. BioWare was once a great developer, but now take a look at their last game, Dragon Age of Veil. So developers can really fall if the original dev team or the key people that made the developer what they were are gone. So yeah, if someone is uninterested in what we've seen in Marathon so far, that's completely fine. But I feel like I'm losing my mind watching people online saying that Marathon is exactly the same as Concord and will therefore suffer the exact same. It's not unwarranted in my opinion. It's because they have the same. As far as I know, the politics of Bungie, it's not that far off from Firewalk back in the day with the gender ideology. Look at the color scheme of this one. It's bright, ultra neon bright. It's not looking good. So I can't blame people for being pessimistic about this and them saying that it's going to be another Concord. It'll probably, what I feel is it's probably going to not so great, but it's not going to be Concord levels of bad. That's what I feel. And because Concord failed to grab audiences because it was a bland looking game. You think this was looking good? I don't think so. I don't think it looks that good. It didn't wow me. That no one had ever heard of before. It was it's $40 gamble. Bro, this is Wait. I know this game's gonna cost money. So why is this guy assuming that's gonna be free to play? Is Marathon free to play? Yeah, it's not. It's not gonna be free to play. From the same oh no, it's not the same website. Why is Peter saying that no one ever heard of before and was a $40? I think it's gonna be $40. Am I wrong? It's okay. It's loading so slow, but I know this game's gonna cost money. Let's look for it. I'm not gonna read this. Yeah, will not be free to play. So already this already incorrect. They're gonna gamble too. It's gonna cost money, and that in itself is gonna be a huge hurdle. And yeah, the way I see, okay, granted, I'm not a extraction shooter or multiplayer guy in general, but yeah, this is not looking. It's not looking great. It's like the variables are stacked against it more than in favor of it, in my opinion. So, yeah, time will tell. The market will decide if this is a game worth it, or is it worth investing in it, and will it live or will it die just like Concord? What's valid is like it's a more reputable game than Bungie. So that's the strongest point. But everything else is kind of weak. Like him assuming that it's free to play, right? Him saying, no, was it this one? Oh, okay. There's a continuation here. Yeah, it's like yeah, well, I can't blame him for being optimistic about the game. So yeah, there's that. They could have just made a single player game, in my opinion. With even be brazen enough to make a Halo-like game, it would have been fine. I think would have been better received, like kind of like a spiritual successor of sorts. I think that would have been better than this game, and it would have costed them a lot less too. But it is what it is. They chose this route, and it's either sink or swim. Live service games, like they can only go so far. It's like there can only be so many of them in the market. Like if you're invested in one, if let's say you're a whale in one of the live service games, you cannot invest any more in the other games, which is what these companies don't understand. Yeah, you can get lucky, but it's, the market's already saturated. They should go back to smaller scale single player games. At least that's how I feel. If they have a shot in succeeding in the industry right now.